Okay, we talked about it earlier. Elias Lindholm wanted around 9 a year was the rumor on an extension in Calgary. A quarter of the way through the season, he does not look anything close to a $9 million player. I think Noah Hanifin probably has shown a lot of value, and it looks like he could be turning in a career year. And Chris Tanev's been Chris Tanev. Maybe just walk through the three other notable UFAs for the Flames and what Craig Conroy's dealing with here.
Well, I had a really interesting sort of internal debate with myself putting together my first trade targets board of the season last week. And I ultimately slotted Lindholm in the top spot. I know what this year has been, but let's just say hypothetically that both Lindholm and Hanifin go to market next summer.
Mm-hmm.
Which player gets more money?
I would have said it's Lindholm with a slam dunk, but if he's going to have an awful year and Hanifin's going to have a career, it might be closer than we would have thought.
Maybe closer than we would have thought, but still probably not even really. There's a ceiling to Hanifin, right?
Yeah, he's never going to run your power play, and he's definitely a 2-3 with lots of minutes, but it's not a offensive wizard, right? He can do everything but the offense.
Okay, and that's such a big part of today's NHL. I think where the Flames and him were talking, north of $50 million is the absolute limit for him. Don't you?
So 7 and change.
I do.
So if that's the case, how much more could he possibly get on them? I think that was market value, personally.
We'd heard 60. We'd also heard 50. I don't know. 60 seems like, holy moly, that is a ton. Because what's that? 8 times, it's 7.5. Whereas 50 is that's, yeah.
I said north. Yeah, it's north of where Uyghur is, and maybe one less year. But still, it's a lot of money for a guy that doesn't really have the true offensive component to his game that some of these other guys might have.
Mm-hmm.
How different, and I don't mean stylistically, but I mean overall impact on the game. How different I'll throw a hitman guy at you. How different are Travis Sanheim and Noah Hanifin?
I don't know enough about Sanheim. And really, it's more a question about Lindholm because I think Hanifin's been Hanifin. How much is Lindholm left here?
But so then what I'm saying is don't pay a super premium for Hanifin in a career year when you kind of really know and have evidence of what his game is. Whereas Lindholm, he's been a bit more mercurial, especially when you look at his point production over the course of his career. He's had some great years and he's had some really average years in terms of production. But I think his game is a bit more nuanced and more impactful than Hanifin's is. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
I still think Lindholm in a bad year is getting more.
I don't disagree with you. I think I would think the same thing. I'm just for Lindholm himself, he's not doing himself any favors.
No, he's nowhere near 9 right now.
Is he a number one center?
I don't think
so anymore.
I think he was slotted as a number one here only because, and you know what? That's not fair. That's not fair. When him and Tkachuk and Gaudreau were playing together, he was number one.
Right.
I think they were a top line in the NHL, a top 5 line in the NHL anyway. So at that point, yeah, by definition, you're a number one center. But I think when he has to drive the bus himself, he's not.
And I'll add this, Frank. If he's getting moved to a contender at the deadline, I don't think there's one out there that's going to be in a playoff position where he is the best center on the roster. If you're trading him on March 8th to a team going into the playoffs, they have a center better than him. I don't know that I can find one that doesn't. Maybe you could convince me that because Boston lost their top 2 guys and it's Zacha and a rookie up top, that's one spot, but Boston's kind of different. Everywhere else it's better. I'm just rolling through. It's Barkov, it's Matthews and another guy probably. It's 2 centers in Tampa that are better. It's the Rangers, no, absolutely not. Carolina, no. Where is the contender that he's the best? He'd be a number one center.
Yeah, I think it's a great question to ask. My next question would be, so if we agree that he's not a number one center, then he's probably one of the better number 2s, right? And so is it easier to get a number 2 center or a 2-3 defenseman? I don't know the answer to that. I think it's actually pretty close. And I think that kind of brings up the whole purpose of the debate.
Yeah.
Well, and does what he's looking for in contract play into it a little bit too? Like if you're trading for him, I don't care what anyone you might be content with just taking him for the remainder of the year and let him walk to free agency, but you also might be interested in signing him. People are going to know what kind of dough it's going to take to keep Lindholm around. And
no one's going into it blind.
No,
There's a parameter, there's a world that probably in his worst state, Lindholm is at $8 million.
See, and I think that's a fair number for him because, again, like we just said, I don't think he's a true number one, but he might be the best number two, right? So I think there should be a drop off for that. But I don't. I
mean, it's not going like again, maybe worst case scenario is 7.75. Like, is he not getting that much? I think
and it's a tough watch here right now and it's not his fault necessarily. Like it's not a great year to not have a great year, but he's also playing with Sharon Govich and Mangiapane. Like he's
played himself onto that though.
Well, I mean, it's just that they don't have elite wingers. There's no one on this roster that can score 30 goals. Like I'm convinced of it. No one will score 30 this year.
Sorry.
But like the guy returning with the most goals is Nazem Kadri at 24. So of course the wingers around Lindholm aren't going to, pop on a contender. They will. So it's a tough watch here, Frank, because he's a guy saying 9 and you're looking here and you're like, is he going to even get to like 60 points? Like, what are we talking about here?
As we said before training camp, sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you don't.
Yeah.
But have they moved themselves back into the conversation of we have to give this group a chance?
Not for me. I don't know about you guys, but I just so even with all these guys, what are they?
I've said that all along, but
are they a threat?
Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't think they were a threat for the last 2 years.
Can they be a playoff team? Yeah, I think they can. Like, can they beat out Arizona or St. Louis or Nashville or Seattle to get one of those spots?
But it's easy for us to say then they won't. But they're not a threat. But damn well, we've all talked to people and GMs and owners that are get us in the playoffs. Let's
roll the dice.
Let's roll the dice. We're at the craps table now. You play a team that loses a goaltender to an injury, you move on, you make a bunch of money. Like that does play into it.
I just think that's a shitty way to run a business.
I'm not. I think that we're all aligned with that. I'm just not convinced that's how ownership and Conroy are. I don't know that that's the marching orders for Craig Conroy.
Yeah,
I think he's got the ability to change that narrative and discussion.
I think he should have done it earlier then. I disagree with you. I think the closer they are to a playoff spot, the harder it is for Craig Conroy to sell it.
Oh, I see. I think there's enough apathy in the market that I think you can point to if you're Craig Conroy and Jerome McGinley and you have the ear of ownership and say, people are tired of this. They're tired of being in the murky middle where there's really no path forward to be a contender. It's not a full-scale rebuild. I've been saying this all along because they can't.
Yeah. No, and they also have kids that have already started arriving. It's not like they have.
I think they can change the mix, though. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel for more content from Flames Nation. More going up all the time. Best ofs, interviews, and make sure you watch coming up in the next few months. Tons of stuff going in there as well. Flamesnation.ca, game day articles, blogs, news going up all the time. And we're working hard to get some new merchandise out there for you as well. Go to the website nationgear.ca to check that out. Thanks, buddies. We appreciate you.